Hello, I'm attorney Dan Marr from the Nashua law firm of Hamlin & Kerrigan in New Hampshire. I've been practicing law for approximately 36 years, or 37 years in New Hampshire, 28 years in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And I'm going to be talking today about the results of Tuesday's election in work in the upcoming weeks. Today is November 6th, very early in the morning. I do not know what the results of the election was on November 5th. 2024, but I'm going to be talking today about what happens in New Hampshire if you talk about political speech. Now, certainly bosses are not going to be upset with you, and most bosses are not going to be upset with you with talking about if you're pleased or displeased with the results of the elections, both in the state or the federal level. But you really should keep it to a minimal for a variety of reasons. For one, if you do have a heated conversation or anything else that it disrupts the workplace, you should understand that you do not have political speech rights in New Hampshire as for private employment. So your private employer can go and take action against you because you've been disruptive in the workplace because of your political view. Either you're very excited about your candidate getting in or very distraught about your candidate not getting in. Frankly, you shouldn't be at either level. You should, if your candidate didn't get in, you should be working to still help your political agenda with your political representatives in the political arena, not in the workplace. But if you do feel that way, you should not be getting into a conflict with one of your coworkers. Also, so if you do that, we have freedom of speech, constitutional right of freedom of speech. Constitutional right of freedom of speech, though, U.S. Constitution prevents government from interfering with free speech. That's why if you go to court, which is government, you have certain rights as to defamation laws. If you're talking in a public park and you want to espouse your views of something, as long as you're not inciting a riot, you have rights there where the government can't do something about you. But in this situation, it's an employer firing you or taking some other adverse action against you, private employer. That's not the government doing it, it's the private employer doing it, and they're allowed to do that. For political speech. So what we're talking about here is you don't like the results of Tuesday's election, November 5th, 2024, for either state, federal, and you espouse your views and you get into a conflict with a coworker. You could even get into a conflict with a coworker at a party outside of the workplace, but it affects the workplace because you're having this conflict. The boss might take adverse action against you. Also, for bosses out there, you can tell the employees they can't talk about this stuff in the workplace or at least get into heated conversations. You may not want them to prevent them from having conversations, even though it's not protected, but you want to deal with that. The distinction between this is you're definitely not allowed to prevent your employees from talking about work-related issues, both federal and state. Federal, it's the National Labor Relations Act. It's called concerted activity. National Labor Relations Act deals with, and this issue deals with both union and non-union jobs. So most of us private employers, for the regular rank and file people, they can talk about their pay. They can talk about why they don't like their boss or why they think something is not appropriate, and they can have in the workplace, and they can talk about that, and they have protections from adverse employment reactions because they can't get fired because they talk about that stuff with a coworker in regards to that. That's different than political speech, but understand again, if you go and talk to somebody and you don't like who the president is now, or you are happy that the president is now, and you think that the other person that was voting on the other side was stupid, and you say something like they were stupid and they didn't know what they were doing, you can get fired for that. Also, very bad decision for if you're trying to move up the company ladder, and also you just want to have a more stress-free workplace, because even if you have a good relationship with one of your members of your team, and you find out that they have a diametrically different political opinion than you do, your opinion of them might change. You might have an adverse reaction. You can't unscramble that egg, and you may not want to know. Frankly, ignorance is bliss in the workplace as far as your political views. You may find it's better not to know about that other person's political views because you may be thinking of them differently. It might affect your workplace, and if it affects your collegiality in the workplace, it may affect your possibility of getting a supervisor position or a boss position later on. So think about that in the workplace. Stay free from political views if you can, or big political views. If you're going to have a political discussion, be careful about it and be respectful to your fellow employees. And all of us are going to have to work out across the aisle, both politically and in the workplace, and consider that very carefully when you're before you speak about the results of Tuesday, November 5th, 2024's elections. Thank you.